So I started here in Helensville and I took a taxi to Auckland and I took the Northern Express all the way down, that's a train, all the way down North Island to Wellington, where I picked up the Inter Islander and I came over to Picton. Where's Picton? Where's the little Picton? Nelson. Picton. Then I picked up a car and I drove through to Nelson along this route. Then from Nelson I went down route number 6. I followed it all the way down to Westport. Then I did the little coastal drive all the way down to Greymouth. Then I also drove, I spent quite some time in Hokitika, so that's where I was in relation to North Island. I was down here. So Hokitika, there's a lot of touristy things to do down there. I really enjoyed that little town. And then I drove all the way down to Franz Josef for my hilly ride, which rained out. I'm just looking for Franz Josef here. Where are you? It's a tiny little town. There we go, Franz Josef. That's where my helicopter ride rained out. And then I went back to Greymouth. So the story, what happened was, on the day that I was going to Christchurch, I drove out all the way through the pass just there by Otera when they told me I can't continue on Arthur's Pass because I need chains. So there wasn't any signs out or anything. I tried to check in what the status was and there wasn't anything. So I drove back to Greymouth, waited, contacted the rental, the company where I rent the car from. I got some chains, drove all the way back, and as I got to the pass, I put the chains on. And when I was driving with the chains on, everybody was giving me a funny look, all the cars passing me by, because nobody had chains on. So what happened was, in the meantime, they'd cleared the pass for travel. They haven't put out the sign to say, they haven't changed it to clear, so they still had the sign on that says that you need chains, and I was the only one abiding by the sign. Everybody else was just doing what they thought was right. But anyway, I traveled all the way through the pass and I arrived in Christchurch, where I spent one night. And then today I drove all the way back along Route 1, and from about here there was roadworks all the way on and off on this coastal drive there. It's going to be absolutely fantastic when it's done, but there were so many delays. I tried to count how many times I stopped, and I lost count after a while. So I drove all the way back to Picton, and that's where I am. And tomorrow I'll take the ferry back to Wellington, then I'll pick up the train on Friday and go all the way back to Auckland. And then my good friend Joe is going to come pick me up, and then I'll be going back to Helensville. And as you can see, Helensville and Parakaya, they're right next to each other, and that is the place I consider home. So that was my trip around New Zealand this time. So thank you for following me. Thank you for liking, watching and subscribing. I hope you enjoyed it, and I love sharing my world with you. Light and love, everyone. Bye.